Sup, bro? I've just woken up. I feel a little bit like sickly, ickly, but we're going to the beach tomorrow, so I'll get over it. Don't worry. Oh my god! I think you're still napping, so I'll try to finish this up before you wake up, so I can message you when you're awake. Okay, we're up to chapter 6. I'm gonna shuffle about a bit. Let's get into it. We're on page 100. Like I said, it's saying that we're at 25% of the way through the book. And this chapter might take 40 minutes, so maybe I'll do like 20 minutes. I'll see. I don't know. I'll see when you wake up. I don't really feel like doing the whole 40, but I will for you. Chapter 6. Okay, if I'm gonna die, it's gonna have meaning. I'm gonna figure out what I can do to stop Astrophage, and then I'll send my answers off to Earth, and then I'll die. There are lots of avenues for painless suicide here, from overdosing on meds to reducing the oxygen until I fall asleep to die. Cheerful thought. I ate a delicious tube of day 4 meal too. I think it's beef flavoured. The food is getting chunkier now. There are actually some solids in there. I think I'm chewing on a little cube of carrot. It's nice to feel some texture in the food for a change. More water, I say. The nanny bot, as I've come to call it, quickly takes my plastic cup away and replaces it with a full one. It's funny. 3 days ago, these ceiling mounted arms were a mechanical monster that haunted me. Now they're just there, part of my life. I found the dormitory to be a good place for thinking, now that the dead bodies are gone anyway. The lab doesn't have anywhere comfortable to relax. The control room has a nice chair, but it's cramped and has blinking lights everywhere. But the dormitory has a nice comfortable bed I can lie back on while I think about what to do next. Plus, the bedroom is where all the food comes from. I remember a lot I've remembered a lot over the past couple of days. Looks like Project Hail Mary was a success, because here I am, in another star system, Tau Ceti, as I assume. It makes sense that I'd mistake it for the sun. Tau Ceti is very similar to the sun as stars go. Same spectral type, colour, and so on. And I know why I'm here, not just in vague terms, like, oh hey, the world ending, make it happen, but very specifically, find out why Tau Ceti wasn't affected by astrophage. Easy to say, but hard to do. Hopefully I remember more details later. A million questions run through my mind. Some of the most important are: how do you scour an entire solar system for information about astrophage? Oh, wait, number 2. What am I supposed to do? Throw some of my astrophage fuel at Tau Ceti to see what happens. Number 3. How do I steer this ship anyways? Number 4. If I find useful information, how do I tell Earth about it? I think that's what the Beatles are for, but how do I plug the data to them? How do I aim them? How do I launch them? 5. Why would I, of all people, be part of this mission? Yes, I worked on a bunch of stuff about the astrophage, but so what? I'm a lab coat, not an astronaut. It's not like they sent Wiener von Brunn into space. Surely there are more qualified people. I decided to start small. First, I have to work out what the ship can do and how to control it. They put crew in comas. They must have thought it might mess with their minds. There has to be an instruction manual somewhere. Flight manual, I say out loud. Ship information can be found in the control room, says the nanny bot. Where? Ship information can be found in the control room. No, where in the control room can ship information be found? Ship information can be found in the control room. You kind of suck, I say. I make my way up to the control room and take a good long look at every screen. I spend an hour in there cataloguing what each area seems to say and make guesses as to what the functions are. What I'm really looking for is something like information or here to save humanity, press this button to learn more. No such luck. After hours of poking at screens, I found nothing. I guess they figured if the crew are so brainwashy they don't remember how to use the ship, they're probably not useful as scientists anyway. I did find out that any screen can show an instrument panel. They're pretty much interchangeable. Just tap the upper left corner and a menu shows up. Pick whatever panel you like. That's nice. You can customize what you're looking at. And the screen directly in front of the pilot's seat is the largest. I decide on a more tactile approach. I'm going to start pushing buttons. Hopefully there's no blow up the ship button. I think Strat would have kept that from happening. Strat. I wonder what she's doing right now. Probably controlling somewhere with the Pope making her a cup of coffee. She was, or is, a really domineering person. But gosh darn it, I'm glad she was in charge of making this ship happen. Now I'm aboard it all. Her attention to detail and insistence on perfection are nice to have all around me. Anyway, I bring up the scientific instrumentation panel on the main menu. It's the same panel I spent a lot of time with earlier. The one that currently shows an image of Tau City. It has the word helioscope. Probably helioscope paper. In the upper left corner. I hadn't noticed that before. The left side of the screen has a bunch of icons. Other equipment, I assume. I press one at random. Tau City disappears. The top left corner changes to read External Collection Unit. The screen shows a diagram of a featureless rectangle. There are some controls here, and there to change the angle and to open bow side and open stern side. Okay, noted. I'm not sure what to do with that information. I press another icon at random. This time it changes to Petrovoscope. Beyond that is this little black screen with an error message. Petrovoscope cannot be used while spin drive is active. I say. Okay, what is Petrovoscope? Best guess, a telescope and slash or camera that looks specifically for IR light that the astrophage emit. It looks for the Petrova line by the Petrova wavelength, so it's a Petrovoscope, and we really need to stop putting Petrova in front of everything. Why can why can't I use it in when spin drive is active? I don't know how a spin drive works or why it's called a spin drive, but I do know I have one in the back of the ship, and it's for astrophage's fuel. So it's my engine. It probably activates enriched astrophage to use them as thrust. That would mean there is a ridiculous amount of IR light coming from the back of the ship right now, like enough to vaporize a battleship or something. I'd have to do more maths to know for sure what it is, but I can't help it. I want to do the math right now. The engine consumes 6 grams of astrophage per second. Astrophage stores energy as mass. So basically, the spin drive converts 6 grams of mass into pure energy every second and spits it out the back. Well, it's the astrophage doing the work, but whatever. I bring up the utility panel on a smaller screen to my right. There's a bunch of familiar applications all ready to go. One of them is a calculator. I use it to calculate the mass conversion energy of that 6 grams. Oh, good lord. It's 540 trillion joules. And the ship is emitting that much energy every second. So it's 540 trillion watts. I can't even fathom that amount of energy. It's considerably more than the surface of the sun, literally. Like, you'd get hit by less energy if you're on the surface of the sun than if you're standing behind the Hail Mary at full thrust. I'm decelerating right now. Have to be. The plan is to come to rest in the Tau Ceti system, so I'm probably pointed away from the star and slowing down, having spent a really long time at near light speed during the trip. Okay, so all that light energy will hit dust particles, ions, and anything else between me and Tau Ceti as I plug along. Those poor little particles will be brutally vaporized, and that'll scatter some IR light at the ship. Not much compared to the engine output, but it would be blinding to the Petrovoscope, which is finely tuned to look for trace amounts of that exact frequency. So, no using Petrovoscope with the engine on. But man, I would love to know if Tau Ceti has a Petrova line. Theoretically, any star infected with the astrophage should have one, right? The little blinkers need bladders, sorry. Those little bladders need carbon dioxide to breathe. Can't get that from a star unless you know the way into the core, and I don't know if astrophage can even survive at those temperatures. If I see a Petrova line, it means that Tau Ceti has an active astrophage population that, for some reason, hasn't grown out of control like it has everywhere else, and that line will lead me to a planet that has carbon dioxide. Maybe there is some other chemical in that atmosphere that impedes the astrophage. Maybe the planet has a weird magnetic field that messes with their ability to navigate. Maybe the planet has a bunch of moons that the astrophage physically collides with. Maybe Tau City doesn't have any other planets with carbon dioxide in their atmospheres. That would suck. It would mean this whole trip from Earth. Wait. That would mean this whole trip is for nothing and the Earth is doomed. I could speculate all day. Without data, it's just pure guesswork. And without the petroscope, I don't have any data. At least, not the data I want. I turn my attention to the navigation screen. Should I mess with it? I mean, I don't know how to fly the ship. The ship does, but I don't. If I push the wrong button, I'll be dead in space. Actually, it would be worse than that. I'd be hurling towards Tau City at. I check the information on the screen. 715. Wait. 7,559 kilometers per second. Well, a couple days ago, that was over 11,000. That's what constantly accelerating at 1.5 Gs will do for you, or decelerating, I guess. From a physics standpoint, it's all the same. Point is, I'm slowing down with respect to the star. But there's a button on screen that I'm really like, yeah. There's a button on screen that just says course. That seems reasonable to tap on, right? Famous last words. Really, I should wait until the computer feels like my trip is done, but I can't help myself. I tap the button. The screen changes to show Tau City's solar system. Tau City itself sits in the center, denoted with the Greek letter Tau. I really do not know if I'm pronouncing this right, and you're probably really mad at me because you will know how to pronounce this. Oh, that's what the lowercase t is for in the Hail Mary crest. It's Tau, the Tau City. Okay. Anyway, 4 planetary orbits are shown as thin white ellipses around the star. These locations of the planets themselves are shown as circles with error bars. We don't have super accurate information on exoplanets. If I could figure out how to get science instruments working, I could probably get much better info on these planet locations. I'm 12 light years closer to them than astronomers on Earth. A yellow line runs almost directly into the system from off the screen. It bends towards the star somewhere between the third and fourth planets and into a circle. There's a yellow triangle on the line, but way far away from the 4 planets. Pretty sure that's me. And the yellow line is my course. Above the map is the text. Time to engine cutoff. So it says 0005 2906. The final digit decrements once per second. Okay, I learned a couple of things here. First off, I have 5 days left. Jesus. Closer to 6. Before the engine cuts off. Second off, the reader has 4 digits for days. This means this journey took at least 1,000 days, over 3 years. Well, it takes 12 light years for this trip, so it should take a really long time. Alright, relatively. I have no idea how much time it took, or rather, I have no idea how much time I experienced. When you get going near light speed, you experience time dilation. More time will have gone by on Earth than I have experienced since I left Earth. Relativity is weird. Time is of the essence here. And unfortunately, while I slept, Earth experienced at least 13 years. And even if I find a solution to the astrophagy problem right now, it would take at least 13 years for that information to get back to Earth. So that means it'll be an absolute minimum of 26 years of astrophagy misery on Earth. I can only hope they're coming up with ways to deal with it, or at least ameliorate the damage. I mean, they wouldn't have sent the Hail Mary out if they didn't think they could survive at least 26 years, right? In any event, the trip took at least 3 years from my point of view. Is that why we're put into comas? Was there a problem with us just being awake for the duration? I only noticed the tears when I first. What? I only noticed the tears when the first one dropped on my face. That decision to put us in comas killed 2 friends of mine. They're gone. I don't remember a single moment with either of them, but the feeling of loss is overwhelming. I'll join them soon too. There's no way home. I'll die out here too, but unlike them, I'll die alone. I wipe my tears and try to think of other things. My whole species is at stake here. Judging by the path on the map, this ship will automatically put me in a stable orbit around Tau City between the third and fourth planets. If I had to guess, I'll probably say it's 1 AU, the distance the Earth is from the Sun. It's a nice, safe distance from the star. A slow orbit that takes about a year to complete, probably longer because Tau Ceti is smaller than the Sun, so it probably has less mass. Less mass means less gravity and a slower orbital period at any given distance. Okay, I have 5 days to kill until the engine cut off. Rather than mess around with stuff, I'll just wait it out. Once the engines are off, I'll fire up the petroscope to see what's out there. Until then, I'll try and learn as much about the ship as I can. I'll do just about everything right now to keep from thinking about Yao and Ilankina. Technically, the carrier was named the People's Liberation Army Navy Gansu. Why the army has Navy in its name, I'll never know. But I read that wrong, sorry. Why their Navy has Army in its name, I'll never know. Regardless, people stopped calling it that and started just calling it Stratsvat. Despite objections from the sailors aboard, the name stuck. We wandered around the South China Sea, never getting too close to land. I'd spent a blissful week doing nothing but science. No meetings, no distractions, just experimentation and engineering. I'd forgotten how much fun it was to just get immersed in a task. My first breeder prototype had demonstrated another successful run. It wasn't. It didn't look like. It wasn't much to look at. Mostly a 30-foot long metal pipe with a bunch of ugly control equipment welded on here and there, but it did the trick. It could generate a few micrograms of astroflash per hour, but the concept was solid. I had a staff of 12 people, engineers from all over the world. A couple of Mongolia Mongolian brothers were my best engineers. When I got a call from Strat to meet her in the conference room, I left them in charge. I found her alone in the meeting room. The table was strewn with papers and charts, like always. Graphs and diagrams adorned the walls, some new, some old. Strat sat at one end of the long table with a bottle of Dutch gin in a low ball glass. I've never seen her drink before. You wanted to see me? I said. She looked up. Her eyes had bags. She hadn't slept. Yeah. Have a seat. I sat in the chair next to her. You look terrible. What's going on? I have to make a decision, and it's not easy. How can I help? She offered me the gin. I shook my head. She topped off her own glass. The Hail Mary is going to have a very small crew compartment, about 125 cubic meters. I cocked my head. That's actually kind of big as far as it's actually kind of big as far as spaceships go, right? I cocked my head. Wait. Oh my gosh. You get where I'm at. Like, it just said the spaceship thing. She wiggled her hand back and forth. Big for a capsule like Soyuz or Orion, but tiny for a space station. About 1/10 as big as the International Space Station's crew compartment. Okay, I said. What's the problem? Problem. She picked up a manila folder and dropped it in front of me. Is that the crew will kill each other. Huh? I opened the folder. Inside were lots of typewritten pages. Actually, some of them were scans of typed pages. Some were in English, some were in Russian. What's all of this? During the space race, Soviets briefly set their sights on Mars. They figured if they put people on Mars, the US moon landing would be trivial in comparison. I closed the folder. The Cyrillic writing was nonsense to me, but my guess was that Strat could read it. She always seemed to know whatever language was being used. She rested her chin in her hands. Getting to Mars with 1970s technology would have meant using a home and transfer trajectory, which means the crew would have spent just over 8 months aboard the ship. The Soviets tested out what happens when you put people together in a cramped, isolated environment for several months. And after 71 days, the men inside were getting into fistfights every day. They stopped the experiment on day 94 because one of the subjects tried to stab another one to death with broken glass. How big will the crew be for the mission? The current plan is 3. Okay, I said. So you're worried what happens when you send 3 astronauts on a 4-year trip in a 125 cubic meter compartment. It's not about them getting along. Each crew member would spend the whole trip knowing that they're about to die in a few years, and that the few rooms on the ship are the only world they'll know for the rest of their short lives. The psychiatrist I've talked to said that the crushing depression is likely, and suicide is a real risk. Yeah, that is something. Wait, yeah, that is some rough psychology, I said. But what can we do? She picked up a stapled sheath of papers and slid it toward me. I picked it up and read it. A study of long-term primate and human coma patients and detrimental after effects. So Rick et al. Okay, it said like Civic at all at the end, so I think maybe that's like I don't know. Um, we will move on. Okay, what am I looking at here? That's a study by a failed company in Thailand. She swirled the gin in her glass. Their idea was to put cancer patients into induced comas for their chemotherapy treatments. The patient gets the chemo but don't have to be awake to suffer through the process. Wake them up when the cancer goes into remission, or it's no longer treatable and it's time for hospice. Either way, they skip a lot of misery. That that sounds like a great idea, I said. She nodded. It would be if it wasn't so lethal. Turns out the human body isn't supposed to be in a coma for a long time. Chemo lasts months, and often needs additional rounds after that. They tried various means for medically induced comas on primates, and the primates either died during the coma or came out as mush for brains. So why are we talking about this? Because they did more studies, this time on historical human coma patient data. They looked at humans who had come through long comas relatively unscratched and tried to see what they had in common. They found it. Old Russian Space Agency documents were a mystery to me, but scientific papers were my forte for a long time. I flipped through the paper and skimmed the findings. Gene markers, I said? Yes. They found a collection of genes that gave human coma resistance. That's what they're calling it. Sequences are in what scientists used to think was junk DNA, but apparently it's something we evolved a long time ago for some unknown reason, and still lurks in some people's genetic code. Are they sure these genes cause coma resistance? They correlate, but do they cause it? Yes, they're sure. The genes are found in lower primates too. Whatever it is, it goes way back in an evolutionary tree. There's speculation it might go all the way back to our aquatic ancestors that used to hibernate. In any event, they ran tests on primates with those genes and they survived long comas with no side effects. Every single one of them. Okay, I see what you're gonna do. I put the test paper down. Do DNA tests on applicants and only of people who have those coma resistance genes. During the trip, put that crew into comas. They don't have to experience 4 years of getting on each other's nerves or introspection about their deaths. She raised a glass to me. It gets better. Having the crew in comas makes food situation much easier. Powered, nutritionally balanced slurry pumped right into their stomachs. No need for 1,000 kilograms of diverse meals. Just powder and a self-contained water recycling system. I smiled. That seems like a dream come true, like suspended animation in sci-fi novels. Why are you drinking and stressing me out? There are a couple of catches, she said. First of all, we have to develop a completely automated monitoring and action system to take care of the coma patients. If it broke down, everyone would die. And there's more to it than just monitoring vitals and pushing the right drugs to the IV. They'd have to physically move and clean the patients, deal with bed sores, diagnose and treat secondary issues like inflammation. Oh, you've just woken up and you've Snapchatted me. Okay. Um. Oh, wait. I'll pause this and respond to you and try to keep coming back to this. Okay. Okay. I hope you had a good nap. I just asked if you had a good nap. Okay. I'll keep reading. Okay. So something about treat secondary issues like inflammation and infection around the various IV and probe entry points, stuff like that. Okay, that seems like something the global medical community could work out for us, I said. Use your strap magic to boss them around. Until then. She took another sip. That's not the main problem. The main problem is this. On average, only 1 in every 7,000 humans has that genetic sequence. I sit back in my chair. Whoa. Yeah. We wouldn't be able to send the most qualified people. We'd be sending the 7,000th most qualified people. 3,500th most qualified people on average, I said. She rolled her eyes. Still, I said, 1 in every 7,000 of the world's population is a million people. Think of it this way. You'd have a pool of 1 million people to look through the candidates, and all you need are 3. 6, she said. We need a primary crew and a backup crew. We can't have the mission fail because some guy gets hit by a car crossing the street the day before launch. Okay, then 6. Yeah, 6 people of astronaut caliber who have the scientific skills necessary to work out what's going on with the astrophiles in Tau Ceti, who are willing to go on a suicide mission. Out of a population of 1 million. I said 1 million. She fell silent and took another sip of gin. I cleared my throat. So you either take your chances with picking the best possible candidates, and maybe they kill each other, or you take your chances on the not on the yet to be developed medical technology to automatically care for a lower tier of talent. More or less, either way, it's a terrible risk. It's the hardest decision I'll ever have to make. Good thing you already made up your mind then, I said. She raised an eyebrow. Huh? Sure, I said. You just wanted someone to tell you what you already knew. If you leave the crew awake, there's nothing you can do about the psychosis risk. But we've got years to perfect the automated coma bed technology. Okay, wait, next page. She scowled a bit, but didn't speak. I softened my voice. Besides, we're already asking these people to die. We shouldn't ask them to suffer emotional torment for 4 years too. Science and morality both give the same answer here, and you know it. She nodded almost imperceptibly. I've never seen that word. Imperceptibly. Um, then she down the rest of her drink. Alright, you can go. She slid her laptop over and began typing. I left without another word. She had her stuff to deal with, and I had mine. The memories are coming back more smoothly now. I still can't remember everything, but it's no longer an epiphany when they happen. It's just sort of, oh hey, I know that. I always knew that, really. I guess I'm one of those people with coma resistance. That explains why I'm here instead of someone far more qualified who should have been sent. But Yao and Ilankina probably had those genes too. They just didn't make it. My guess, the medical robot wasn't perfect. They must have had some medical situation arise and it couldn't figure it out. Shake off the memory. The next several days are an exercise in patience, and then more about the ship to distract myself. I catalogue the entire lab. One of the first things I find is a touchscreen computer in a pull-out drawer on the center table. It's actually the fanciest find because there's a bunch of sweet research-related screens, as opposed to the panels in the control room, which are all about the ship or its instruments. I see a bunch of math and science apps, which are off the shelf that I'm familiar with, but the real boon is in the library. As far as I can tell, the panel can bring up literally any scientific textbook ever written, every science paper ever published on any topic, and a whole lot more. There's one directory called Library of Congress, and it appears to be the entire digital catalogue of everything that's ever been copyrighted in the United States. No books about the Hail Mary, unfortunately. And the reference manuals. So many reference manuals. Data on top of data on top of data. With some more data in between. I guess they figured solid-state hard drives are light, so there'll be no reason to be stingy with information. Heck, they may have just burned the data into ROMs. They gave me reference material on stuff that can't possibly be useful, but hey, it's nice to know that if I need an average rectal temperature of a healthy goat, I can find that out. It's 103.4 Fahrenheit / 39.7 degrees Celsius. Playing with the panel leads to my next discovery. I know how I'll report back to Earth with the Beatles. I knew they'd be involved, but I didn't know about the specifics. In addition to the observed data storage array aboard the ship, the panel also has 4 completely small internal drives mounted. John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Each one of those shows 5 terabytes free. It's not a huge leap to assume that that's the Beatles' data. So how do I launch them when the time comes? To find out, I head to the control room. I have to dig through a few layers of UI on the Beatles panel to find the launch command, but I find it. As far as I can tell, it's the button labelled launch. I guess they orient themselves based on the stars and head toward Earth on their own. The Hail Mary did the same thing to get here, so they'll know how to do it. No reason to introduce human error into the course selection. While I'm here, I poke around the scientific instrumentation screen. The first few sub-windows are the heliscope, petroscope, and a telescope that can see the sun spectrum, IR spectrum, and a bunch of other bands. I play with a visible light telescope. It's kind of fun. I can look at the stars. I mean, there's nothing else that even Tau Ceti's planet would be just... Wait. I mean, there's nothing else out there. Even Tau Ceti's planets would be nice little dots from where I am, but it's still nice to see the outside world from my confined little world. I also found a dedicated EVA screen. It has more or less what I would have expected. There's a bunch of controls for the EVA suit itself, so an operator in the control room can manage any issue with the suit during an EVA. That way, the person in the suit doesn't have to deal with it. Plus, it looks like the ship has a complicated tethering system on the hull. Basically, a bunch of tracks that the tether hook can run along. They really figured an EVA would be important, probably to collect local astrophage, if there are any. If Talcini has a Petrova line, then there's astrophage to be collected. Getting a hold of some would be step one. Getting down to that lab and seeing if it differs from the astrophage on Earth. Maybe a less virulent stream. The next 2 days are basically me worrying about what happens next. Oh, I know what happens next. I'm just worrying about it anyways. I fidget in the control room and watch the seconds tick away. You're gonna be in 0G, I say. You're not gonna be falling, you will not be in danger, the acceleration of the ship will stop, but that's okay. I don't like roller coasters or water slides. That dropping sensation scares the pants off me, and in a few seconds, I'm gonna feel that exact sensation because the gravity I've been experiencing will stop altogether. The seconds tick off. 4, 3, 2. Here we go, I said. 1. We're on schedule, the engine shut off. The 1.5 Gs I've been feeling all this time vanishes. Gravity is gone. I panic. No amount of mental preparation would have worked. I straight up panic. I scream and flail around. I force myself to curl into the fetal position. It's comforting. It keeps me from hitting any control screens. I shiver and shake as I float around the control room. I should have strapped myself into the chair. I didn't think of that. Dummy. I'm not falling, I scream. I'm not falling. It's just space. Everything's fine. It's not fine. I feel my stomach in my throat. I'm gonna puke. Puking in Zohoji is not okay. I don't have a bag. I'm severely underprepared for this. I was so stupid to think I could talk myself out of primal fear. I pull up the collar. I pulled the collar of my jumpsuit open and tilt my head forward. I'm just in the nick of time. I puke out the entirety of day 9, meal 3, into my shirt. I hold the collar tight to my chest afterwards. It's disgusting, but contained. Better than letting it float around the control room and becoming a choking hazard. Oh gosh, I whimper. Gosh, this is. Can I do this? Will it be rendered completely worthless from this point? Will humanity die because I can't handle 0G? No. I clench my teeth. I clench my fists. I clench my butt. I clench every part of me that knows how to clench. It gives me a feeling of control. I'm doing something by aggressively doing nothing. After an eternity, the panic begins to ebb away. Human brains are amazing things. We can get used to just about anything. I'm making the adjustment. The slight reduction of fear has a feedback effect. I know I will get less afraid now, and knowing that makes the fear subside even faster. Soon, the panic dies down to fear, which diffuses into general anxiousness. I look around the control room and nothing seems right. Nothing changed, but now there's no down. I still feel sick to my stomach. I grab my collar in case I need to puke again, but it isn't necessary. I hold it in. Feel the warm vomit squishing between my chest jumpsuit, and it's disgusting. I need a change. I aim myself at the hatchway leading to the lab and kick off the bulkhead behind me. I float down into the lab. The whole room is cluttered with random floating debris. I left things on the table when I catalogued them. Now all that stuff is wandering around freely, wafting along by currents from the life support air vents. Dummy, I said to myself. I really should have seen that coming. I continue onward to the bedroom. Not surprisingly, it's got junk floating everywhere. I opened most of the bins in the storage area to see what was inside. Now the bins and their contents drift to and fro. Clean me, I say to the arms. The arms don't do anything. I strip down and use the jumpsuit to wipe off the gross stuff from my body. I found a sponge bath zone a few days ago. There's a sink with sponges that comes out of the wall. No room for a shower, I guess. Anyway. Oh my god, there's a moth in here. Oh my god, there's a massive moth in my room. Sorry, it's just a bug. No room for a shower anyways. I'll clean up with that stuff. I'm not sure what to do if the gross stuff. Wait, with the gross stuff. The dirty stuff. Laundry, I say. The arms reach down and take the dirty jumpsuit from my hands. The panel on the ceiling opens, and they put it in there somewhere. What happens when that fills up? No idea. I find a replacement jumpsuit in the flotsam and put Putting on clothes in zero gravity is interesting. I wouldn't say it's harder, but it's different. I do manage to get a new jumpsuit on. It's a little tight. I checked the name patch. It says a Chinese symbol. It's one of Yao's jumpsuits. Well, it's not too tight. I don't want to bounce around the bedroom all day looking for one's mine. I'll organise it all later. For now, I'm too excited to see what's out there. I mean, come on, the first human to explore another star system, and I'm here. I launch off the floor toward the hatchway. I miss. I crash into the ceiling. At least I get my arms up in time to protect my face. I bounce off the ceiling and back onto the floor. Ow, I mumble. I try again, this time a little more slowly, and I'm successful. I coast up to the lab and get to the control room. Getting around sure is a lot easier when there's no gravity. I still feel queasy, but I have to admit this is pretty fun. I pull myself into the pilot's chair and strap myself in to keep myself from floating away. The navigation screen reads primary transit complete. The spin drive screens read thrust 0, but most importantly, the petroscope says ready. I rub my hands together, then reach for the screen. The interface is simple enough. The corner has an icon that toggles into two states, visible and Petrova. It's currently set to visible. The rest of the screen shows a visible light view from the ship. Seems like an ordinary camera. I poke at the screen and quickly realize that I can pan, zoom in or out, rotate, and so on. All I see is stars in the distance. I guess I should pan around till I find Tau City. I swipe my finger left, 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 just generally trying to see where the star is. I don't have a frame of reference to work with. Every few left swipes, I throw in a down swipe, just trying to cover all angles over time. I do finally find Tau City, but it doesn't look like it should. A few days ago, when I looked at it with the helioscope, it looked like any other star. But now it's a solid black circle with a hazy ring of light around it, and I realize why immediately. The petroscope is a pretty sensitive piece of equipment. It's fine-tuned to spot even the smallest amounts of petrova wavelength. A star will give off absolutely obscene amounts of light at those wavelengths. It'd be like staring at the sun with binoculars. The equipment has to protect itself from the star. It probably has a physical metal plate that keeps between the sensors and star at all times. So I'm looking at the back of the plate. Good design. I reach up to the toggle switch. This is it. If there's no Petrova line here, I don't know what to do. I mean, I'll try and figure something out, but I'm kinda lost. I flip the toggle. The star disappears. The hazy ring surrounding Tau City remains. That's what's to be expected. It's the star's corona, which will be emitting plenty of light. Some of it's bound to be the Petrova wavelength. I search the image desperately. Nothing at first, but then I see it. A beautiful dark red arch coming out of the bottom left portion of Tau City. I clap my hands. Yes! The shape is unmistakable. It's a Petrova line. Tau City has a Petrova line. I do a wiggly little dance in my chair. It's not easy in 0G, but I give it my all. Now we're getting somewhere. There are so many experiments I'll need to do. I don't even know where to begin. Or, I should see where the line leads, for starters. One of the planets, obviously. But which one? And what's interesting about it? I should get a sample of local astrophage to see if it's the same as what we have back on Earth. I could do that by flying into the Petrova line itself, then scraping the dust off the hull with an EVA. I could spend a week just writing up a list of experiments of what I want to do. I spot a flash on the screen, just a quick blip of light. What's that? I say. Another clue? The flash happens again. I pan and zoom in on that portion of space. It's nowhere near the Petrova line or Tau City. Maybe a reflection from a planet or asteroid? I can see how that might happen. A highly reflective asteroid could be bouncing enough light from Tau City around that I see it on the Petroscope, but it's intermittent, so maybe it's an irregular shape that's rotating and the flash becomes a solid light source. It's just on now. Non-stop. I peer at the screen. What? What's going on here? The light source becomes brighter. Not instantly, just gradually over time. I watch for a minute. Seems to be getting brighter faster now. Is it an object headed towards me? An instant hypothesis pops into my mind. Maybe astrophage are somehow attracted to other astrophage. Maybe some subset of them saw the flare from my engines, which would be the wavelength they use, and they headed toward me. Maybe this is how they could find the main migration group. So this could be a of astrophage headed my way. I think I can lead them into the planet with carb. Wait, thinking I can lead them to the planet with the carbon dioxide. Interesting theory. Nothing to back it up, though. The steady lights grow brighter, 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 and then finally it disappears. Huh? I say. I wait a few minutes, but the light does not return. I make a mental note of the anomaly, but for now there's nothing I can do about it. Whatever it is, it's gone now. Back to the Petrova line. The first thing I want to do is find out which planet the line leads to. I guess I'll have to work out how to navigate the ship, but that's not the challenge. I pan back to look at the Petrova line. Something's wrong now. Half of it's just gone. It's coming out of Tower City like it was a few minutes ago. But then it just stops at a seemingly arbitrary point in space. What's going on? Did I mess up migration pattern, maybe? If it's that easy, wouldn't we have worked that out when the Hail Mary was wandering in and out our own solar system? I zoom in on the cutoff point. This is the straight line. It's like somebody took an X-Acto knife and the whole Petrova line and threw the scrap away. The giant line of migrating astrophage doesn't just disappear. I have a simpler explanation. There's something on the camera lens, some blob of debris, maybe a wad of overexcitable astrophage. That would be nice. I'd have a sample to look at right away. Maybe the visible light view will give me a better idea of what's going on. I press the toggle button, and then I see it. There's an object blocking my view of the Petrova line. It's right next to my ship, maybe a few hundred meters away. It's roughly triangle shaped and has a gable-like protrusions in the hull. Yes, I said hull. It's not an asteroid. The lines are too smooth, too straight. The object was made, fabricated, constructed. Shapes that don't occur in nature. It's a ship. Another ship. There's another ship in this system with me. There's flashes of light. Those are its engines. It's astrophage powered, just like the Hail Mary. But the design, the shape, it's nothing like any spacecraft I've ever seen. The whole thing is made of huge flat surfaces in the worst possible way. Wait, the worst possible way to make a pressure vessel. No one in their right mind would make a ship that shape. No one on Earth would, anyways. I've linked a few times to what I'm seeing. Gulp. This is an alien spacecraft, made by aliens. Aliens intelligent enough to make a spacecraft. Humanity isn't alone in the universe, and I've just met our neighbors. Holy fucking shit. Okay, that's the end of chapter 6. I'm glad I read the whole thing. This is really interesting. I'm excited to see what's happening next. I love you. I hope your nap was good.